Now, another big thing that I wanted to talk about is more on the client side, and it's the truth about content marketing. Now, if you're working in an office or you're a business owner, the truth is an overwhelming majority of you don't have the time needed to properly research, write, edit, post, and distribute your content marketing plan. I speak from a level of frustration because it's client story time. So one of my clients, they signed up for a new website plus a content marketing package. And usually that's awesome. Like, it's great. We're going to hit the ground running. So my team and we relaunched their website. Looks fantastic. Then we researched the SEO terms, low-hanging fruit opportunities for blogs, case study ideas, like the works. We put that content plan together for them, sent it over because one of the guys in the office was really excited about the new website, a content plan. He was going to be creating the content and publishing it. Fantastic. I can train you on all of that. I can train you on how to do all of that stuff. So what happened? What happened is a few months later, after their website's launched and after the excitement kind of dies down, they get their content plan, and what ended up happening is a couple people were let go in their office. So that one guy that was going to be tasked with this responsibility ended up having to pick up the slack for the other people that were let go. So the designated writer had more jobs to do because he had to focus on the more instant revenue producing jobs. But since then, zero content has been published to their site. And this happens way more often than you would think. People think blogging is easy. They think creating content is easy, and the truth about content marketing is it takes time, a lot of time, uninterrupted time. And you have to decide who's going to come up with these ideas. If you're trying to create your own content plan, you have to decide you're going to have to define those work processes. You got to do it for content marketing too, and you got to do it for every step of the way. The research phase, the creation phase, the editing phase, the publishing phase, and then also the distribution phase. So you have to decide who's going to write, who's going to edit, who's going to publish, who's going to send it out to all your social media platforms. Which social media platforms are you going to send it to? What's going to be your tone on each one of these social media platforms? What do you want the audience to do once they come to your website? Do you want them to sign up for an email newsletter? Do you want them to pick up the phone and call? Do you want them to follow you on social media? Do you want them to download a case study? You gotta figure it all out uninterrupted. It's almost impossible for most companies to be able to do this uninterrupted. And that's why companies like mine are hired. We do this for you. And for those of you who want to do it themselves, we offer the guidance and consulting, but very, very, very few actually create the articles needed on a consistent long-term basis. And when I say very, very few, I do not have one single client that can. And I have several. And all of these clients start off the same way. They start off very excited, and they maybe will write a few articles or maybe they'll do it consistently for a couple months. But then what happens? You get caught up in the normal business stuff and it goes by the wayside and you don't think it's important. But then that intimidation factor starts building. Then it's, oh my gosh, I haven't written a new blog in 2 months. And then it turns into 4 months, and then it turns into 6 months. And it's like, well, you start justifying it to yourself and you start saying, well, I'll get to it over the weekend. And then the weekend comes and you don't feel like dealing with it. And it's one of those situations where you have to outsource it. Content, in my opinion, the perfect strategy to do it, to be consistent on a long-term basis, is you got to outsource it. And I'm not saying you need to outsource all of your content. Your strategic SEO content, outsource it. Your case studies, outsource it. Your weekly videos from the CEO, customer service manager, and other employees, publish that in-house, because that is very important. This gives you that strategy, outsourcing your strategic SEO and some of the other cumbersome content that you don't really feel too excited about creating. Let us or a content marketing agency handle that portion, because then that gives you that organic SEO approach, but it also positions your company as a thought leader when you're creating some of those videos in-house and you're showing off your expertise of your executive team, you're showing off the expertise of the marketing team. So it's a win-win in both of those regards. Now, as far as like what to actually publish You need to go back to our content planning episode, and I'll link this in the show notes to get some ideas, because there are a lot of different ideas, and I say all of this information because I don't want to scare you away from creating content. I'm creating this content as we speak because I believe in it, and I have to tell myself that I am separating the days where I handle my business stuff and I handle the normal client work that needs to be done, but I also need to be diligent and consistent with creating my own content, because this content doesn't necessarily set me up for leads that I'm going to get today or tomorrow, but it's going to set up that trust factor that I'll get those leads 6, 10, even 10 months from now, a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. That's the goal of creating content for your site and for your brand. Because outside of your website, content is the most important investment you can make at the digital level. But do not expect blogging or content creation as a get-rich-quick scheme. You need to, and these are a few different lessons that for everybody that is thinking about a content marketing plan, that is planning on blogging or doing video or maybe even podcasting, all of that stuff is considered content. You're creating a voice for your brand, and you're doing it in a digital medium, and you're doing it on a variety. Hopefully you're distributing that content on a variety of different platforms. Like I said, that content planning episode is probably right up your alley if you find any of this interesting, but don't expect it to be a get rich quick scheme. Like I said, it's a long-term investment. And a lot of times it's an expensive investment. If you don't know how to edit podcasts, if you don't know how to edit videos, then you need to hire an editor. I'm not saying your videos need to be super high production. I'm recording this show right now with a microphone at my home office and my cell phone. So this is one of those things where I'm creating that pillar piece of content, but I'm going to use it in a variety of different ways. But like I said, it's not going to send me leads today, but it might send me leads 4-6 months from now. So I just, if you're in those early stages of planning your content, and even social media too, if you're planning your social media content, and I say this like this because I feel so strongly that you should not be building your content plan on a platform that you don't own. Looking at you people, and I'm talking directly to you people who only publish to Instagram. Get yourself a damn website, pay $12 for the domain, get yourself a cheap little hosting plan, and publish your content to your website. Publish there first, use social media as a distribution platform. My next tip for those of you who are planning content for 2020 is to get comfortable with video. Like yesterday, get comfortable. And then as far as social media is concerned, pick 1 or 2 networks, not named Facebook pages, to be dedicated to. Secret tip, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the hidden gem for me right now as far as content is concerned. And next tip, get really fucking dedicated to the craft. Recognize and be honest with yourself on if you have the capacity to create content on a consistent basis. You need to schedule it, and you need to skip that happy hour. If you're going to be blogging on Thursday night, skip the happy hour and blog. If you're going to be writing out your content marketing plan on a Saturday, don't let somebody else tempt you into going out the night before. You have to have a certain level of dedication to yourself, to your brand, to your business, and how you're planning on growing it. And I think that comes first with being honest with yourself on if you have the capacity to create content on a consistent basis. Because nowadays there are so many blogs, new podcasts are popping up every single day, YouTubers, TikTok, all of these platforms are there ripe for the taking, but you have to have a strategy behind it, and you have to have an end goal behind it. Otherwise, it is just a hobby. And having a hobby is fine. If you want to just treat it as a hobby, treat it as a hobby. But if you want to make real money off of your business, you have to develop your content plan. And if you don't have the time to do it, then you got to outsource it. Or you have one of your team of employees dedicated to the craft. I've seen lots of organizations who will say that, the receptionist is going to be blogging for us. It's like, okay, if you're going to assign the receptionist the duties of blogging, then you need to respect their time and let them set aside a day every single week just so they can create content for you. No excuses. Support that, support the end goal that you have in mind, support that craft long-term, because you're going to have to, it takes a certain level of concentration over several hours in order to pump out a really great piece of content. And that doesn't matter if you're writing it, that doesn't matter if you're creating a podcast script. This particular show for me, this took about 4 or 5 hours to write out and research and create the scripts for this show and the show plan of what I plan on talking about. But if you go back and listen to our content planning episode, then you will understand why it took me this long and why I choose to take the batching strategy. But content marketing is so very important. The competition is tough, but it's about, content marketing is about giving a voice to your brand so those who are searching online can get familiar with your company and how you can potentially solve their problems. They learn to trust you, and hopefully they ultimately end up doing business with you.